Welcome to the Chief Endurance Officer Podcast. I'm your host, Greg McDonough. Each week, we hear real-time stories from athletes and CEOs on how to maximize performance through an endurance mindset. Let's get started. Well, welcome to the Chief Endurance Officer Podcast. I'm your host, Greg McDonough. I am super excited about our guest today. In 1995, he successfully crossed the English Channel. This is a first for us on our podcast. He is a serious investor, but fun leader with over 20 years of experience. He's wrote the 3 Ways to Turn Off Angel Investors in Forbes magazine, a board of director of the Angels Capital Association, co-founder and managing director of Westchester Angels. Please welcome Sandy Wollman. Sandy, welcome.
Thank you very much, Greg. A real pleasure to be here today. Thank you.
It's an honor. And as you know, we love talking about endurance and the endurance mindset. So Sandy, tell me how your endurance mindset has impacted your life unexpectedly.
At one point in my life, about 20 years, I was an endurance junkie. I was a workaholic. I ran a couple of marathons in my late 20s. And then the new sport of triathlon was born. And that just hit me really well. I became a triathlete. I'd come home from work, I'd get on my bike, I'd go to the pool. I wasn't married at the time, which made life a little easier, less complicated. But I'd hate to use the word addicted, but maybe that's appropriate. I just loved everything about the sport of triathlon. It's a collaborative space. We all work out together. We share different training experiences. Even the pros back in the day, the Scott Kinleys, the Dave Scotts, we're running the same course. We're running the same race. You usually see them on the turnaround. Nice people. You can go up to them, talk to them. It was just a terrific experience. After my 3rd Ironman, I was done. I hung up my bike, and I got married, and then swimming was always my best sport. I always found cycling to be a really difficult sport for me. So I started getting into marathon swimming, and I think it was 1991, I entered the swim around Manhattan. It was a lovely swim, 28-mile swim, starting at Battery Park, going up the East River, the Hudson, to the Harlem River, down the Hudson. It was an 8-hour, 47-minute experience. There was an actual race where I think 25 people entered, or 35 people. I'm the middle of the pack, or I finished in the middle of the pack. And I got delayed on the Hudson River because the QE2 pulled out in the middle of the race. You want to feel insignificant in life, be in the water next to the QE2, like a half mile break pulling out. I mean, wow. But truth be told, when I got out of the water, I had something left. I wasn't totally exhausted. I mean, I was tired, but I could have kept going. So I went back to work, became a workaholic, and I traveled to India for business because we're large fabric suppliers. So one of my trips, I said, you know what, just for the heck of it, I'm going to contact one of the authorized boat captains from the English Channel Swimming Association. And instead of, getting on a plane in Heathrow to go to India, I visited him in Doha. I took the bus to the train, to the taxi, and nice guy, lovely wife, very hospitable, tried to talk me out of swimming the English Channel, tried to talk me out of it. And going back on the bus to Heathrow and go, gee, what the hell was up with that? Then I had the moment of clarity that he only wants to take serious swimmers because he wants to set the record for most successful pilot swims. Game on. As soon as I had that realization, game I either worked or I was swimming for about 6 months. Um, and it was quite a story, Greg. The whole experience from training, um, cold water swim. It's a cold water swim. Most athletes try and lose weight when they're working out for a goal. I had to gain weight. I'm swimming like 40 to 60 miles a month and I'm trying to gain weight. It's not an easy task, but Haagen-Dazs became a really good part of my training.
Well, Sandy, I'd love to jump in on the training side of it.
Sure.
Was it pool training? Were you coached? Like, how did you took on, you had this inspiration. You said, yes, I'm going to do it. You detoured out of Heathrow, found yourself in Dover, chatting up this boat captain. And I'm curious about how they're certified, but that's a whole other conversation. But what was the training regimen? Like, was there other English Channel crossing coaches out there that you certainly didn't find them on the internet back in 1995?
There's internet was just being born back then. Cell phones were just coming out, but suitcases still had wheels. Suitcases didn't have wheels back then, right? It was a long time ago. But I reached out and I spoke to a couple of channel swimmers that I had known. They'd been a very collaborative space. Everybody's trying to help everybody else, but I trained myself. What I did was I read voraciously. There was really not an internet to look at that point. I went to the library. So my training goals were, I had 4 training goals. Gradually increase my training miles over time, avoid burnout, do quality work in a pool, just to make things a little more exciting. I can't stress this enough. Train in cold water. The English Channel swim is a cold water swim. No wetsuit allowed. You have to put weight on, otherwise it's too cold. It's like 60 degrees. I mean, it's bone chilling cold. Then you have to be comfortable in cold water. And the last point is I had to peak at the right time. I gradually built up my miles over the course of a month or two. I started in November. Easy workouts in the pool, waking up Sunday morning, being at the Y. And, I love old ladies swimming in the pool, but they shouldn't be in the fast lane. I mean, there's nothing worse than looking at an old lady ahead of you swimming in a pool at 6:30 in the morning on Sunday. God bless them, right? But, I guess that's where the term called stay in your lane, right? But, yeah, so easy workouts, and I joined a master swim program to do quality work. And this is a true story. I live about a mile away here from the Long Island Sound. I live in Westchester, New York. Third week in April, I went with my friend. And I went to the beach. And there's a couple of families there with the kids and, having popcorn and throwing frisbees. They see me, and I start to take my clothes off on my bathing suit, and I'm going in the water. And you see all the families gradually leave the area because they think I'm out of my mind. I mean, I'll never forget this one mom going to her son. We gotta go. I stayed in the water for 5 minutes. It was painful. The next, I was able to stay in the water for 10 minutes. For the last 4 months of training, I did not take a warm shower. You wake up in the morning, doing the Grand Central Shuffle. Our office was in Midtown. I took a cold shower in the morning. After workouts, at the pool, everybody's in a hot shower. I'm taking a cold shower. Warm water didn't hit my body for 4 or 5 months.
That's incredible. You just mentioned your business. How was it managing your business while taking on and increasing your training? And did you see any similarities between sort of business efficiency and progress and growth with the more you trained and leaned into your endurance?
Greg, it's interesting. As I look back on things, I was only born with 2 switches, either off or 110%. I don't have a middle switch. Like, I wasn't satisfied with doing a 10K. I got to do a marathon. I'm not satisfied doing an Olympic distance triathlon. I got to do an Ironman. I'm not comfortable with swimming across the pool. I got to swim the freaking English Channel, right? So there's one big reason why I was able to balance everything between working like a lunatic and training is because I have a really supportive wife. We were just married at the time. Our daughter was a couple of years old. Our son was born 3 months before the swim. I said, so talk about timing, right? But none of this is possible without Lisa's support and picking up clips. And so, but I was a workaholic. And I was, I guess, a trainingaholic, if that's such a word. There's nothing else that mattered to me outside of the health of my family. I worked and I worked out, and my wife allowed me to do that.
It's so true. Having that supportive person or family or coach in your life is monumental to the success of getting to the finish line. I'm curious what your employees and colleagues at the office thought of this endeavor.
Well, I worked for my dad. My dad had a couple partners, and I told the partners that every so often I'm going to leave at 5:00. So usually there at 6:30, whatever. They were very supportive, and I asked them not to tell my dad. And my dad found out and threatened to throw me out the window. Sit from her. He said, "What are you kidding me? You have a 2.5-year-old daughter. Your son is, your wife's about to be give birth any month, and you're have you lost your mind?" He didn't understand the training and the challenge. But he turned from my harshest critic into my best support. He was during that day, he wanted to know what was going on as much as we could. And there was no communications in the middle of the English Channel. So you're on your own. But he was probably the proudest dad.
I bet.
Proud dad. And it was an honor to get a crowd.
Absolutely. You're giving me the tingles just thinking about it. Sandy, let's jump into that day. I mean, when we talked on the phone earlier, you mentioned there was a long period of time that's finishing till you actually started talking about the experience. Give us some snapshots of what that was like and the emotion, and just give us some sense of that day for you.
It's not just
Inspire us.
It's not just about the swim. It's about the whole Megillah, right? Because there's 4 windows, right, that we go through. The first window is you could only swim from, say, May, June to August, September, because it's too cold otherwise. That's the first window. The second window is the tides change every, I think, 12 or 14 days from spring and neap tides. And you want to spring on neap tides because spring tides have a lot more water in the channel. It's a lot more difficult to swim. The fourth window is each pilot has probably 6 or 7 different swimmers lined up for each neap tide. And it's in random order according to how the boat captain organizes it, first come, first serve. Some people, and then you have the conditions of the day. So it's not like I'm going to start at 3:00 on a Friday. You have no idea when you're going to go. You're going to go. Some people spend 2 or 3 weeks in Dover and never get a chance to swim. Mm-hmm. Low on the pilot's list. And the spring tides are really difficult to swim, but a lot of people do spring tides simply because they have no choice. Because they got bumped out of the neap tide rotation and enter spring tides. So those 4 windows are one of the main reasons why there's not a lot of people that have been able to swim the channel. I think the number right now is 2,000 or 2,100 of successful solo swimmers. I'm not talking about relays.
Sandy, just to pop up a quick question.
Please.
The learnings that you've picked up from that, respecting the challenge, respecting other people, respecting those who've tried and didn't make it. How have you taking those principles and those learnings and applied into your regular life, your non-swimming channel life?
It really did. After I was successful swimming the channel, things changed a little bit. I always thought I knew in the back of my mind that the chances of success are small, but I was always positive. I never thought that I would not be able to swim the channel. I said to myself, they're either going to haul my butt out or I'm going to do it one way or the other. And I think it's given me the confidence to tackle things that I think may have been challenging, like starting an angel group. Who would do that? I mean, we started the Westchester Angels not knowing a darn thing. And we learned. I think swimming the channel gave me an open mind of anything is possible. And listen, I'm not the best swimmer in the world. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, I put myself at a 7.5, maybe an. I swam competitively. I was really good at finishing last. I was never fast in triathlons. I was a pretty good swimmer in the 2.4 mile swim. But I was never a great swimmer. I was never I was never a 9 or a 10. I guess at the end of the day, Greg, it gave me confidence.
That's really well said. Sandy, you mentioned the Westchester Angel. Talk to us a little bit about that group.
Oh, thank you. The Westchester Angels, we are a traditional angel group. And for people that are not familiar with angel groups, we're Shark Tank, but we're real life Shark Tank. And we invest in startups. Some are pre-revenue, some are just coming up the right side of the hockey stick. And we invest in startups that hopefully will scale their business and exit in 5 years or so. And that's how angels make money, investing in a company and have them scale and grow and be bought out. Rarely is it an IPO, but it's a really fun space. I keep learning. I hit 65 last year, and my goal is to keep learning, because if I keep learning, I'm going to stay young. And there's no better place than to learn than being an angel investor. I mean, we're close to investing in a new toilet seat. Who would think of a new toilet seat? But it helps senior citizens get in and out of the toilet without too much difficulty, right? And I will say that the two spaces that I've been in my life that are collaborative are the triathlon space and the angel investor space. Because I have my pulse on the angel space across the country, being part of the Angel Capital Association. We all share our toys in the sandbox. When you go up the ladder to the VCs and our friends at the P&E spaces, it's more competitive. It's a really fun space, Greg, and I have great partners. And I put 40, 50 hour weeks in. I'm not compensated because I don't think that's the right thing for myself. And I'm loving it. I'm enjoying it, Greg.
And are you specifically looking for companies in the Westchester area, or so it is geographically focused?
Well, we prefer startups in our area. I would say the tri-state area, of course, Westchester startups we give preference to because they're local. But anyone that's in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, what we want is if you're going to pitch to us, we want you to pitch to us in person. Mm-hmm. So you have to take a drive from Boston or whatever. So that's our requirement. We want you to pitch in person because you get a better feeling about a person when you shake their hand as compared to a Zoom. And we have a schmooze after each investor meeting, which allows investors to talk to startups in a relaxed atmosphere. And that adds a lot of value to the startups, because as soon as a startup contacts an angel group, we're judging them. This is one of the only times, not many angel groups do this, some do, but it gives the startup a rare opportunity to talk to an investor over a beer. And that's kind of how we do it.
That's smart. And I think it's in your tagline too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in my tagline, Westchester Angels, serious investors having fun.
I love it.
It took 7 years to get that tagline.
So we've got, loads of entrepreneurs and business owners that listen to this show. What words of advice would you give them given your angel experiences?
Right. If you're looking for angel funding, there's two platforms that you need to know about where you can apply to probably most every angel group in the country. One is called GUST, GUST.com, and the other one is called DEALUM, DEALUM.com. We use GUST. Apply online. And the advice that I could give is, number one, be very transparent. Kids smell, stink a mile away, and you're not gonna get very far if you're not being totally honest. Number two, communicate. Because angels are judging you. Can you run a business, right? And if you don't know something, have got the people around you that are experts in your areas of weakness. It's not easy to raise money from angels, and I say this with a smile on my face. We're a pain in the ass. And I say that because 2/3 of angel investments, on average, plus or minus, are going to fail over time. These are extremely risky investments. And we compensate for that risk by doing a lot of due diligence in a timely, respectful manner and adding as much value as you possibly can. We could give good Rolodex, legal, accounting, whatever help the startup may or may not need. We are here to provide that for them, even if we're not writing a check out. We're the good guys. We're here to help.
That's really helpful. And then on the flip side, somebody considering making angel investments, what advice or thoughts would you give there?
Well, first of all, according to the SEC regulations, you have to be an accredited investor. Then you can look up that definition online. You can go to the Angel Capital Association website and find an angel group or groups that are located near your area. Reach out to them. Talk to them. Most angel groups will allow you to come to one meeting as a guest after you fill out the simple form saying you're an accredited investor. Check out the AC, Angel Capital Association, and look for angel groups in your area and call them up and find the right angel group that has your vibe. We all follow the same basic procedures, but we all have our own temperament, investment philosophy, and karma. So find the group that resonates for you. Now, you don't necessarily have to be located in the area because all angel groups have live events, but they're all live streamed now based on COVID. They're all recorded. So you could be a member of a group in California if you want to, if you live in.
That's really helpful. And so I also have to ask you the question, we mentioned the Forbes magazine in your intro. So what are the 3 ways to turn off an angel?
By not being transparent. We've experienced 23-year-olds that have never received a paycheck before in their life, and they seem to have amassed all the business knowledge on the planet. We're not going to be able to help them. Be transparent. It's okay to say, I don't know. That's okay. Nobody knows everything. I certainly don't know everything. But if you say you're going to get back to an angel group on Tuesday, get back to them on Tuesday. Even if you don't have the answer, say, I got most of your answers. I need another day. Please bear with me. I think those are the 2 basic things that I could go about giving advice. Be transparent, communicate.
That's really, really, really helpful. Sandy, I'm going to jump back into our conversation around your crossing.
Sure.
There's got to be, I know there's probably hundreds of stories you've got lined up, but I'd love to know or hear the story around a make or break moment while on that journey. Okay, just get us excited. Get us into that moment.
Well, one of the requirements is you have to have a certified 6-hour cold water swim signed by a member of your crew. Crew's up to you. The boat captain has the boat. They have the official English Channel observer that writes everything down. This is a very official situation. because nobody should have more advantages than Matthew Webb, who was the first person to swim the English Channel in 1875. And he did it on warm, warm beef stew, warm brandy and beer after 21 hours. And alcohol and cold water don't really get along well. But that brings you up to the deck. And so I knew I could swim 6 hours without a problem. I did my certified 6-hour swim. And it was a really good swim because back then I was using a powdered carbohydrate, Gatorade type of drink. And I oversaturated the solution, and I got sick on my 6 hours. Violently sick. I didn't go back to shore. I did what I had to do in the middle of the ocean with a person that was swimming with me. And I lowered it, and everything worked well. I would say during the day, things started to get rough for about 5 or 6 hours. And I purposely did not wear a watch. I don't want to know about time. I'm either going to land somewhere in France or they're going to haul my butt out. There's no other choice. That's it. And I would say after 5, 6 hours, I asked the boat captain if I was halfway. Maybe it was after 5 hours. And I'm going to botch the accent, but he goes, well, if I had known that you wanted to know where halfway was, I would have woken up in the middle of the night and I would have painted a yellow stripe in the middle of the English Channel. But I didn't. So I suggest you shut up and keep swimming. So Mike Oram was my boat captain. And he'd done this a lot. He was awesome. He got into my head. He understood what I was going through because this was not his first tap dance. I almost got stung by jellyfish. There was a gathering of jellyfish. It's flat tide, about 500 yards. People have been airlifted out of the English Channel because they swallowed jellyfish. This could really ruin your day. I got stung about into 7 hours, and actually the sting hurt like a son of a gun, but kind of took my mind off the agony, and I was able to just concentrate on the thing, not the agony. The worst part of the swim, Greg, was hour 10, and it was by far and away the worst hour of my life. Because you swim from England to France, it's almost a straight line, but you go in an S or a Z pattern because the tide is going up and down. I came really close to missing the last tide, and if I missed the last tide change, it would have extended my swim by 4 to 6 hours, and now I'm at nighttime swimming. So the captain says after 10, I fed every half hour. And at hour 10, the captain goes to me, Sandy, you're going to have to swim faster than you swam at any time today to make the tide. I'm not going to feed you. You're not going to stop. And if you stop, I'm going to take this stick and I'm going to hit you over the head. But then he hit me over the head with a stick. And it freaking hurt. But what he did was brilliant. He got my mind off the thing. He had me concentrate on not liking him instead of the horror that I had to go through. In the middle of the 10.5 hours, he's sitting on the side of the boat, eating a grilled chicken and throwing the bones at. I could see him eating this chicken, and he's going up and he's throwing the bones at me. And he did it on purpose because he wanted to take my mind off of what I was going through and channel it. And it was actually an hour and a half that he didn't feed me, where he kept a vigil. And after 10.5 hours, after that hour and a half, he said, Sandy, I think you've done an awful lot to ensure your success. And I made the tide by 5 minutes. You could actually see in a video the tide change. And here's the messed up part, Greg. It took me 13 hours and 6 minutes to swim, but success or failure could be 5 minutes away. In other words, if you feed for a minute and a half as compared to a minute every half hour, I don't make it. I miss the tide. And then now I'm in the water for 17, 18 hours. Success or failure could be a matter of minutes. And that's the whole mind game of the whole thing.
That's such a powerful lesson to apply not only in that situation, but throughout our lives and investing and in business and your family. Like, we're always just a moment away from success or failure.
Yeah, I think I was successful because I had respect. Yeah, I'm sorry, but it's been almost 30 years and I still get verklempt. I couldn't talk about it for 10 years. I literally couldn't talk about it. It was an emotional drain. It was after 6 or 7 hours, it's not physical, it's mental. And it comes down to how bad do you want it? And that's for any endurance athlete. I don't care. Listen, I don't care if you're running the 10K. How bad do you want it? How bad? You're at mile 15 on an Ironman. Now it's starting to get dark. How bad do you want it? Swim the English Channel. It's not like doing an Ironman because you can't use any of your senses. You don't talk. There's nothing to see. There's nothing to smell except boat fumes if you're in back of the boat. The only thing you have is yourself. It's like putting your brain in a box and putting it under the bed. There's nothing. It's just you and Mother Nature. You know, our colleagues, our pool swimmers, they swim against other swimmers. And their success or failure could be a matter of a 10th or 100th of a second. Marathon swimmers, English Channel swimmers, swim against Mother Nature and yourself. Very different endpoints.
And to your point, it comes back down to how badly do you want it? Sandy, how can an audience member get in touch with you?
Email Sandy, SANDY, at Westchester Angels, plural.com. I answer all emails within 24 hours if I'm willing. I mean, if the internet gods are with me, I try and respond to every email within 24 hours.
Fantastic. And we'll include that in our show notes. And I know you mentioned that you've got a handful of videos that we'll include in the show notes.
Yeah.
I've watched them on YouTube and they get you fired up just being part of that day for you.
Yeah. You could use the link on my YouTube video. That's fine. That's, it really summarizes the whole day. Long day. I will tell you, Greg, next time I want to go from England to France, I'm taking the Channel. But here's one last thing. There's no limit to the human spirit. The very next day, Mike Oram takes out a swimmer, Nick Adams. He swam from England to France and then swam back to England, a two-way, 24 hours. The very last thing on my mind was swim back. There's just no. Just take me right away. There's just no way. There's the young lady a couple of years ago that did a 4-way swim. 1, 2, 3, 4. People have done 3-ways. So just when you think you've accomplished something, and swimming the English Channel is a pretty big accomplishment, you're humbled by people that exceed expectations. There's a swimmer that swam around the country of England. There's swimmers that have swam the Amazon River. There's no limit to the human spirit. No limit.
I couldn't say that any better. So I'm going to leave it at that. For my audience, please like this show. Please subscribe to our podcast. Share Sandy's message and his stories with your friends and family so we can get our community pumped up and excited for the accomplishments that we can achieve, that next big thing in our lives. Sandy is an illustration of that being done. It was an awesome pleasure to have you on this show. I could ask you questions all day long about your swim and your business and angel investing, but I really feel like we capsulated the core of it over these last 45 minutes. So again, for the deepest part of my heart, thank you.
Greg, I really appreciate the opportunity to share. Thank you very much, Greg.
Thank you for tuning in to the Chief Endurance Officer podcast. To hear more inspiring stories and strategies around the endurance mindset, be sure to subscribe below or visit us at chiefinduranceofficer.com. Until next time, keep pushing those limits.